Have you ever had that haunting feeling that somewhere, another version of you made a different choice? And that version is living the life you secretly dream about? What if I told you that feeling isn't just imagination? What if it's your mind touching something real, something rooted in both quantum physics and the deepest parts of human psychology? Stay with me, because today we're diving into the quantum psychology of parallel lives, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at your decisions, your regrets, or your future the same way again. Imagine this. 2 years ago, Sarah was stuck in a dead-end job, exhausted, scrolling through Instagram, seeing her old college friend traveling the world, building a business, looking alive. Sarah told herself, "I wish I had taken that opportunity in Barcelona." But here's what most people don't realize. That version of Sarah who said yes, she exists. Not in some sci-fi movie, but in the quantum fabric of reality, and more importantly, in the parallel psychological reality your brain is constantly simulating. And the crazy part? You can learn to switch tracks. Let me explain. In quantum mechanics, the many worlds interpretation suggests that every decision, every possibility, branches into its own reality. The electron doesn't choose one path. It takes all of them. Different versions of you are living every possible outcome right now. Sounds wild? Sure. But here's where it gets dangerously practical. Your brain is doing something almost identical on a psychological level. Neuroscientists call it counterfactual thinking. Your mind is constantly running simulations of alternate versions of your life. Every regret, every what if, every midnight thought about the road not taken, that's your brain accessing parallel psychological realities. The difference between people who feel stuck and people who seem to reinvent themselves overnight isn't luck. It's their ability to consciously choose which version of reality they collapse into. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was 29, overweight, in debt, and quietly miserable. One night he watched a documentary about quantum physics and had a breakdown. Not because of the science, but because for the first time he realized his life wasn't a straight line. It was a tree of possibilities. He started asking himself a different question every morning. Which version of me am I feeding today? Instead of "I need to lose weight," he started thinking, "I'm stepping into the timeline where I'm the guy who trains at 6 a.m. and feels unstoppable." He didn't just set goals, he began identity shifting, acting as if he was already the version of himself from a better branch. 18 months later, Marcus had lost 45 pounds, started a consulting business, and was in the best relationship of his life. When people asked him how he did it, he said something that stuck with me. "I stopped trying to fix the old me. I started becoming the other me." That's quantum psychology in action. Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds motivating, but is there real science here? Yes, and it's fascinating. Dr. Donald Hoffman, cognitive scientist, argues that what we call reality is more like a desktop interface. Our brains are showing us only what we need to survive, not what's actually there. The real structure underneath might be more like a network of conscious agents making choices. Combine that with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's shown through brain scans that when people vividly rehearse a new future with emotion, their brain and body start changing as if that future is already happening. Your mind doesn't perfectly distinguish between a vividly imagined parallel life and physical reality. That's why visualization works, and why most people do it wrong. They daydream. The winners simulate with emotional intensity. They feel the version. They speak like the version. They move like the version. They collapse the probability wave in their favor. So how do you actually do this? Let's get tactical. First, you need to identify the dominant parallel self you're currently living in. Be brutally honest. Are you living in the safe but slowly dying timeline? The one where you play it safe, consume more than you create, stay in that almost relationship, scroll instead of ship? Or are you ready to step into the becoming legendary timeline? Write down the exact characteristics of the version of you living your dream life. Not surface stuff, deep identity. How does that version wake up? How does that version speak to people? What does that version tolerate? What does that version refuse to tolerate anymore? Most people fail here because they try to drag their current identity into a better reality. That doesn't work. You have to let the old you die. That's the quantum leap. There's a concept called quantum suicide in thought experiments, but in psychology, It's identity suicide. You kill the version of you that's producing your current results. I've seen it hundreds of times in coaching. The moment someone fully accepts that the old self must end, everything accelerates. Second technique, use decision anchoring. Every major decision, ask yourself, which version of me would make this choice? The broke version? The legendary version? The fearful version? The unstoppable version? This single question has saved me from terrible decisions more times than I can count. It creates instant psychological distance from your current emotional state and connects you to the parallel self that already has the results. Third, the daily collapse ritual. Every single morning, spend 7 to 10 minutes in a peak emotional state, embodying the parallel life you want. Not visualizing from outside, seeing through the eyes of that version. Feel the gratitude of already being there, hear the sounds. Feel the emotions in your body, make it so real that coming back to this reality feels like stepping into a slightly blurry dream. This isn't woo-woo, this is using your brain's predictive coding system against itself. Your brain starts looking for evidence of the new reality and opportunities that match it. That's how synchronicities start happening. That's how luck shows up. People who consume this kind of content usually fall into two categories. The ones who watch, feel inspired for 24 hours, then go back to their old timeline. And the ones who treat this like actual technology, who implement, who burn the ships, who refuse to feed the old self anymore. Which one are you? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Every second you're choosing, every scroll, every conversation, every time you say yes when you mean no, you're casting the vote for which universe you want to inhabit. The parallel you who already made it isn't waiting for you to catch up. They're calling you forward. You feel that pull sometimes, don't you? That strange nostalgia for a future that hasn't happened yet. That's not random. That's resonance. That's your consciousness recognizing its other branches. Some of the most successful people I've studied, entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, all talk about this in different words. They say things like, I just knew this was meant for me, or I became obsessed. What they're really describing is locking onto a parallel identity so completely that the universe rearranged itself to match. Elon Musk didn't build SpaceX by being realistic. He stepped into the timeline where humanity becomes multiplanetary and worked backwards. Serena Williams didn't become the greatest by hoping. She became the version of herself that refused any other outcome. This isn't about toxic positivity. This is about quantum responsibility. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the observer collapsing the wave function of your life. And once you truly get that, not just intellectually but in your bones, everything changes. You stop complaining. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop negotiating with yourself. You start choosing. So here's my question for you right now. Which version of you are you going to feed today? The one who's going to watch this video, feel good, and do nothing? Or the one who's going to pause this video right now, grab a piece of paper, and start defining the exact identity of the parallel self you're stepping into? Because the branch is happening either way. The only question is, which reality are you choosing? If you're the kind of person who's ready to make that choice, I want to know. Drop a comment right now with the word parallel and tell me one quality of the version of you that you're stepping into. I read every single one. And if you want more on how to actually rewire your psychology at this level, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell. We're going much deeper in the next videos, covering quantum habits, timeline jumping techniques, and how to heal past versions of yourself that are still leaking into your present. You don't have to stay stuck in this version of your story. There's a better one, and it's not as far away as you think. The only thing between you and that parallel life is the decision to become the person who already lives there.